It's a little cold in here in HQ.
Oh boy.
And I gotta go get my propane tanks all filled up today. I got like 5 tanks I gotta go get filled up for all the various things on my property, So, it's
a little chilly.
A little chilly. Could put a heat lamp, I suppose, but don't need that. I'll be good.
Glowing the whole time.
Yeah, pulsating. Yeah. So,
well, Jeff. So you've really turned out. Here we are in 2019 to be an extraordinary tennis teacher / coach.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the pleasure of being on the court with you a few times. You actually helped me last year get ready to go down to Irvine, play the National 70 hard courts, which I won without losing a set, and you get a lot of credit for that, for sure.
Thank you.
But I want to know, I mean, before you got to this point, I think we've talked about it before, you got back into teaching, into the tennis industry back in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
What's the little quick backstory on what got you back into teaching back into 2010?
I left for about 10 years at age 24 after I played juniors, Division I college, scholarship ball, played the tour, blah, 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 established myself as a player. So I'd done that part. And I took a break in 1998. I left the teaching industry for about 10 years or so. And when I came back to it, I felt this draw back to it, that I needed to be back on the court again. There was a part of me that I needed to express, and that is where I needed to be to do it. What I didn't know is when I came back to it, I was coming back to it with this new set of eyes and this new set of ears, and not that I was actually aware of it, but as I started teaching again, I'm listening, I'm hearing things on the court next to me, the matches going on, the ladies' matches, the guys' matches, I'm picking up all this chatter, and I'm starting to make mental notes while I'm building new clientele. And I'm also finding that I'm teaching a little differently than I did before, 12 years earlier. And I'm finding my own, let's say, intuitive process about relating to people has shifted. And so as I'm teaching, I'm noticing who I'm teaching and watching and listening, that there's an elephant in the room and no one sees it, right? And that elephant in the room is the majority of the club players I'm surrounded by, and that's 3-0s, 3-5s, and 4-0s. Everyone is trying to play theory tennis they've heard through 5, 10, 15, 20 years of clinics. This is how you play doubles. You hit your first serve, you run to the net, you hit your first volley, and and then anything that sits up, you hit it at the net person, and all these classic things we hear about. The team that owns the net wins the match, and you know the dialogue. And what I found was, as I'm watching, and it just hit me like, bam! It was like right there. I went, oh my gosh! Nobody out here has the skill set to do that. So they've been trying to do this for years, and it morphs into this type of play, especially in the 3-0 and 3-5 genre, of everyone's hitting the glass wall at the service line. No one can get any further closer to the net, but yet they're playing the theory from this deeper position in the court. And so what I came to realize is that everyone's trying to play theory tennis with this limited skill set, and they just don't have the full toolbox to be able to execute theory tennis.
So you come to this point where you've been away for 10, 12 years, and I'm assuming that you bring your teaching style from back then
Right.
into this new call it a second coaching career.
Right.
And for whatever reason, you sort of look around and go, well, was there ever thought, I see the stuff that's not working. Did you ever wince and kind of go, well, I used to teach some or a little bit of that,
or all a bit of that.
Okay, I was trying to give a little benefit of the doubt, or all of that, and then you could just see that it wasn't working, and that was probably just you matured 10, 12 years later, things were different, and you came with a fresh mind. So
Right.
once you came to that realization that it wasn't working, what was it that you wanted to accomplish?
Well, I
Because you could have just said, this tennis thing sucks. I'm going to go back and do construction.
right. I think the realization that there in the internal conversation was, gosh, you know what? They actually hit a decent ball. They actually have a toolbox, and my realization was, they just don't know how to use it to get the job done. They're using all these tools in this basic way, and they're trying to shove a square peg into a round hole, and they're not using the right tool to get that done. And so, but yet they have the right tool. They could actually do this, but they just don't know how to do it because they're trying to fit their skill set into this other theory. So for me, I slowly started adjusting the conversations I was having with my students. I started adjusting the words I used. It's very, very, very rare, if ever, will you hear me say, take the racket back. Like, never, follow through. I mean, all those classic terms are for me now off the table, because the student, if they've been on the court for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, they have an attached definition to those words, which means I can use that word all day long and try to redefine it for them, but to untie that knot is near impossible. So I chose a different path. I chose to say, I need to start using different words to give them a new definition of what I need them to do.
And was
so
there
I'm not,
and was there any wall that you had to anything that you kind of bumped up once you made this thing? Well, I want to do this differently. Did you run into any conflict, any kind of wall, kind of a term, that really made it tough for you to be able to do what you wanted to do?
Probably initially it was, having students kind of look at me like, and our players out there will understand the statement. They kind of gave me the head tilted a little bit and kind of gave me the RCA dog look,
Right.
The head tilted. But so that was really more of the conflict was me learning a better, cleaner language to get them to relax and to actually, take the theory tennis lens off of their face and give them a new lens to look through, to see the game through a different perspective, to see the game from high ground. And so I started just constantly readjusting my language to be able to express the things I needed them to do without the hard external word pictures, and giving them more implicit ideas to work with. So adjusting what might be considered hit the ball in front to hit the ball when it's next to you. It's still in front of you. It's just a different way of saying it, and all of a sudden they have these little moments where it's, oh my gosh, that feels so much better. It feels comfortable. It feels whatever, So that was in terms of a conflict, it was really me having to keep experimenting with language and getting the concepts across on how better to improve, stroke technique if needed, and then tactically how to use, getting them to discover, helping them discover what their skill set actually is. And then I had one student in particular that really catapulted this idea, and a 4-0 player, she played 4-0, struggling though, maintaining that, and struggling with wanting to be, thinking she was a blaster, and wanting to have a two-handed topspin backhand. And so after 6 months of doing that, she was frustrated with it. I was a little frustrated with it, just not because she couldn't do it, but mentally, that wasn't her forte, to be able to focus enough to technically be able to make this transition and learn how to do it. And she would admit it freely that, God, I can't, blah, blah, blah. And so 6 months in, and then having a chance to watch her play enough, I realized it's like, again, it's another like ding. She's not a blaster. She's a cat and mouser. She has this skill set that is just sitting there being untapped. And so the next lesson, I told her, I said, listen, we're done. I'm not going to teach you technical work anymore. And so that's also a big thing for a pro to tell a student, like, I'm not going to do this with you anymore. We're going to do this. And to have the trust of the student to be able to do that. So I said, I'm going to teach you how to use this skill set better, because you're leaving a lot of great stuff on the table here, so I'm going to teach you how to do this. So then I created a single pattern to teach her first, and the eyes lit up, and she completely transformed that day. That was the day I got the old lens off and she got the new lens on, and we just did a very simple play that is known now throughout the club. She has probably practiced that play now over the last 6-7 years. She's probably hit it in practice in our sessions 30,000-40,000 times, probably, just estimating, because she came out every week and blah blah blah, and just kind of, I ran the numbers. So she owns it. She owns these plays now, and it doesn't matter that the other team knows what's going on. The execution of the construction of the point, when it's done well, it just doesn't matter. She can then hit that short, she pushes them back and then she cuts them down. She pushes them back, she cuts them down. And so for me, that moment of realizing there was so much more to teach, that was so much more, let's say, enjoyable for the student, that they could actually get a better appreciation for the game by learning how to play the game, not just learn how to hit a backhand better, not just learn how to hit a forehand better, but actually extract so much more enjoyment out of the game with the skill set they currently have. So that was, probably the...
Yeah, no, that's great. So, your kind of big aha moment as you kind of tapped your head, sort of your epiphany on this whole thing was that the old way of teaching, the way that you used to teach, and the way that you've seen so many other players being taught is, number one, I guess it was kind of a couple of epiphanies. Number one is it's not working, because they're really not playing good doubles in terms of having fun, and then the next thing was, for you, it sounds like it was to kind of zero in on each individual player and find out what their unique strengths and weaknesses are, and try to customize a playing style that would make them successful. So, and then you had the success with this woman. How did that change your overall teaching style? I think you kind of alluded to it, but you had success with this one gal. Did you then start going out and picking out each one of your players and then trying to figure out?
Yeah, I started looking at every.
Rather than saying, instead of forcing something on them, you could actually go out and individually watch them play,
Right.
which by the way, is the one thing that teaching pros don't do nearly enough, which is to go out and watch their students
Right.
play, to be able to come to the epiphanies that you're coming to, which is Janie over here does this well, Maggie over here doesn't do that well, but she does this well, and
Right.
trying to make them successful. So,
Yeah, I think that, that just once I had that, you know, that epiphany, then I started noticing everybody, what they were doing, how they were doing it. It was so obvious to me at that point when I looked at anybody, seeing kind of the one or two things that was really inhibiting their ability to play the game and have a little bit more fun at it, without feeling guilty about not wanting to be at the net. Oh, the horror, right, of of having that
yeah,
experience when you're supposed to play doubles like this. This is the way you play doubles. This is the way you do it all the time, and there's no other way to do it. And so that was really the catapult that kind of really it made, I tell you what, for me personally, it made my time on the court way more enjoyable. And because of that, my students were they were engaged. They couldn't wait to come next week and like, Jeff, I've got a trip coming up, but don't give away my time, blah, blah, blah. I'll be back in 2 weeks,
okay.
I mean,
right.
You know what I mean? So because now we were also getting to know each other on a much more personal level, that within this exchange now, they were starting to realize, God, when I played this way, I felt so tight. I felt my anxiety levels were rising. I'm trying to do this. My partner says, you got to get into the net, and I don't like being at the net. And I go, you don't have to be at the net. I'm going to teach you how to do this thing where you already have a person at the net. They have a racket in their hand. So I'm going to teach you how to set them up. That's your job. You're going to be the workhorse on the baseline, and you got a great wicked forehand, and I'm going to teach you how to use it, where to go with it, how to target places, and we're going to get your partner involved, and they can be the finish. You can be the steak, they can be the sizzle. I mean, and what happens though is that players start to relax then and go, the pressure's off. I don't have to be the one to serve, volley, hit a winning volley, and do all of it myself. They can play a role in it.
So what was your personal transformation from where you started when you got back into the tennis industry, teaching, from that moment of seeing that this was not working and you wanted to do something different, and you kind of struggled along the way with a few things. Then you had some success, some results in your students. But Jeff, for you personally, emotionally, you help these guys get results, but that's kind of the external thing, right? That's not
Right.
really what was happening inside your own personal transformation as a coach. So,
Right.
Without you sobbing like a baby boy, if you want to, that's fine.
Well,
Tell me, or tell us, the transformation that you made from then to where you are right now as what I would consider an elite coach.
well, on the one hand, the personal satisfaction of allowing myself to trust what I was seeing, that I have a lifetime of experience on the court as a player and a coach and an instructor, and for a while there, is my idea valid? Is this actually something? Am I seeing something that everyone else is actually ignoring or not even noticing? And the more I allowed myself, and that was probably the transformational part, was allowing myself the grace and the freedom to go with the idea and to trust the idea, because it seemed so just blatantly obvious once I got going in that direction that I should keep going in that direction.
I'm just curious why you did it, because I mean you're bucking the headwinds, right? I mean everyone else is teaching this old thing that didn't seem to
Right,
make sense, and you decided to step out there and act on what you thought should be doing.
right.
But I mean,
Well,
why?
I
I
had
mean,
no.
why was that so important? I mean, it must have had. There's some personal reason why you decided that you needed to do this. That you were kind of on this quest.
Right. Well, the my first, 15 years in the industry, I was in a little bit of a bubble, with a methodology and a focus in the teaching method. And a lot of it was Stowe based, Tom Stowe based, and those concepts and techniques are still a foundational concept in the way I teach. I just use a different language now that allows my students to do a lot more discovery than me mechanically explaining everything. So I haven't left the foundational, fundamentals of that. It's just I have a different delivery system now, and so when I came back to the game, and having this visual and hearing what everybody was struggling with, and no one's paying attention to it, I found myself in an environment that I had no restriction. I had no one over me telling me I had to teach a certain way. I was an independent contractor at the time. So I had the absolute freedom to teach any way I liked. And probably just through, being older, coming back into the game and coming back into teaching, I probably just allowed myself the freedom, like I said, the grace to explore the idea. And the more I explored it, the more I started enjoying my time on the court. And that internally that just energized me. I get up in the morning and I'm really looking forward to my lessons today. I mean, that's just huge, because I've been on the other side of the coin, and I'm sure you have too, where it's like, crap.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Can't wait to get out there and teach today, right? And I can honestly say, this second part of my teaching career is just way more enjoyable. Because I love the interaction with the student and getting them to kind of see the game differently and put the new lens on and become excited again about wanting to be better.
Yeah, cool.
So for me, that the internal was just this joy that I started to get from expressing these ideas, and the more I expressed, the more I got back. So then it just started to feed on itself, and so that kind of helped just propel me further down this road to where we are today, where you and I are looking at this thing going, I think we have something here that a lot of players have never heard of before, or even conceptually even thought of, and that no one's talking about. So I think we've stumbled upon another elephant in the room, and let's have some fun.
Yeah, cool. Well, good story. Thanks for sharing that, Jeff. And guys, wow, that's a great story. That's really cool. Well, the next time we do this, I want to hear about your player story, and we will do that shortly. But until then, guys, Jeff and I are offering a 10-minute free coaching call, either individually with one of us, or we could do a three-way call, whatever your preference is. But again, it's free, 10 minutes. The only caveat is you got to bring with you to the call what's your number one thing that you absolutely got to figure out right now in your game that you've probably tried to figure out on your own in the past, and it just hasn't. The result
hasn't worked out.
Has not worked out. So we definitely want to give you our 2 cents on that. The way to do that is send an email to letusknow@goalballhunting.com. And until next time, guys, thanks so much. Make it a great day out there. And Jeff, we'll do this again tomorrow, man.
Can't wait.